Hey everyone, welcome back to Rob's Car World. Tonight's top pick is a 1972 Mercury Marquis. I found this car on Facebook Marketplace in Ohio, stating it has 61,000 original miles. I think it does. Let's go check it out. I found this car just a little while ago on Facebook Marketplace. It's a 1972 Mercury Marquis. Basically, it's the same car as the Ford LTD, only it definitely was much more refined than the Ford LTD, and it was a little bit more exclusive with its hideaway headlights and things like that. What's really nice about these cars is 1972 was the year prior to a lot of the 5-mile-an-hour bumpers started coming out, so the chrome bumpers on these cars are super thin, really nice, very stylish looking car. These were upscale cars back then. If you had this car in your driveway, you know, you're right up there with the Cadillac folks, maybe even above the Cadillac folks. Back in 1972 was a big car. When the gas crisis hit in 74, 73, 74, these were pretty heavy cars to push on gas lines. So it's kind of like the last of the really big luxury cars, in my opinion. So we'll get into the person's car individually. But again, this car, the Mercury Marquis, basically ran the second generation that we're looking at, ran from 1969 to 1978. The first generation had a different look to it. That included the Park Lane that we talked about before. But the second generation, 69 right to 78. And there's those hideaway headlights. It really looked like a Lincoln, back then. It was very, very pretty car. It came in a 2-door hardtop, 2-door, 4-door hardtop, a 4-door pillared hardtop. And I didn't know that until I read this today. I thought they were all hardtops, but you learn something new every day. And it was shared with the Ford LTD, like we talked about. So rear-wheel drive, front engine, a lot of room. But when you get underneath these cars, it's all Ford Motor Company. It's Ford, it's Mercury, it's Lincoln. I think you could take the gas tanks out of these cars and just put them in the other cars. So it was kind of like badge engineering at its best back then. But the Mercury line and the Lincoln line did have more soundproofing and different styling to differentiate the car from the others. So a really nice car. So this 1972 states he has 61,000 original miles. The owner goes on to say that it's a really nice 72 Mercury Marquis, low mileage survivor. So based on the photos, we'll go through the photos real quick. I believe it is 429 cubic inch engine. I had the 460 in most of my Lincolns that I've owned, and I've unbelievable engines. I mean, the cars are fantastic. So I'm only thinking the 429 engine is just as durable and bulletproof. These cars, they don't shake or rattle. I mean, it's exactly what the commercials were back in the 70s, if you remember them. Cold air conditioning, which is really good to find. Somebody's selling a car with cold air conditioning. That means they drive it often and they care enough to maintain the air conditioning systems. And that's a big expense when you buy a car. To buy a collector car or a mildly collector car like we find most of the times, you can easily spend $1,000 to get the air conditioning working. And if this air conditioning is working, that really turns me on a bit as far as the seller and the owner of the car. New belts and hoses, which is always good to see. New fuel tank, pump, and carburetor. He hates to sell the car, but he needs garage space. No texting, message me on Facebook or call me. So the new fuel tank is a little bit of a question because a lot of times, especially in Ohio, if this car is not on some type of vapor barrier when it's parked in the garage or some type of heated garage, you get moisture coming off the concrete floor. And that moisture off the concrete floor after all these years can, in fact, cause rust. And the first place it's going to rust is the gas tank when it's empty. The moisture just builds in and out. And so I'd be a little bit concerned about the undercarriage of this car, but the rest of the car turns me on. He's asking $8,900, which is a decent ask out of the box. Not sure what he would take on the car, but I would think if you can buy this car for $7,000, it's probably a really nice deal. Let's go into the photos and see if we can tear it apart a little bit. Everything looks original. The side moldings here look really nice. The door panels line up. It doesn't look like the front clip was taken off at any given time. It looks like the original wheel covers. I'm not sure how good the tires are, but what really got my interest was how beautiful the front of this car is. So this really tells me that this car has been well cared for. The hideaway lights are really cool. They work on vacuum. Normally, if you have a vacuum leak after around an hour, the headlights go up, so that's how you can always tell. But you can start the car, and within a half hour, those lights will be closed, at least for a little while, until the leak comes. So when you buy a car like this, a Mercury or a Lincoln or a Ford back in those days, you know, you're going to be dealing with vacuum hoses, and it's part of the fun, you know. It's part of the fun of ownership, you know. But look at that beautiful chrome bumper, the bumperettes here, the lights here, and you know, the hideaway lights and all that. The rear sail panels here, how beautiful the quarter panels are. They look great. You know, I'm not seeing any rust or anything here. But again, it's hard to tell on the photographs, but the trunk lid lines up as it should. And what's most impressive is how beautiful this vinyl top looks, you know. The glass looks really nice. It's a hard top, so you don't have a post there. He shows this photograph, which is a good photograph to show for a number of reasons. This tells me that the door is original. The rubber grommet here is original, the rubber stripping. This car was not repainted, at least anywhere that I can see from the inside. So it shows me that this car has no rust here. It may have been like one of those Rusty Jones cars. When you find a car that has like these little red plugs in the sills or in the door sills and things like that, those little red plugs or orange plugs, those were the days when they used to use Zim Oil and Rusty Jones and all that. And I got to tell you, I know people complained about that stuff being a dealer ripoff, but it really works. And when I look at collector cars and I see those little plugs in the sills and the doors, most of the times you don't find rust where you'd normally find them. So that's a good photo to show. That means the person knows what he's doing when he shows me these photos here. Again, it looks very original. The vinyl top looks awesome. You know, just to see the vinyl top so well cared for. I gotta tell you, you know, this car probably is a 61,000 mile car. Nothing fancy on the interior. It's the embroidery type interior. It's like a cloth interior, different patterns here, but it all matches the door panels and all that. So that looks all original. Again, this in a you know, striker area here for the door looks to be very original, and the rubber stripping looks in good shape and all. So the rear seat looks awesome. So you would expect that. The car looks like to be a cared for car. And look at that beautiful headliner. There's those seat belts back in those days. You know, they hanged over here. You had to reach up and take them off and clamp them in. And yeah, they do work. You know, if I'm going to drive this car, I'm going to wear the shoulder harness. But boy, have we gone so far when it comes to shoulder harnesses since the 1970s. But there you go. There's that door again. Look at the door striker area, the sill here. It looks all original. It's a pleasure to see such a nice car like this. I don't know if that is a power seat. It looks like it is. I'm believing that this car, but it doesn't have power windows. So, but that's it. I mean, that was common back then. You know, power windows were like $60, and people, I'm not going to buy that for $60. He's showing us the speedometer. It's a little hard to see. It's blurred, but it does show 60,800 miles. And we'll assume that now that that's original. Nice photograph of the engine bay, a very original looking engine bay. You can see the containers here for the, I believe that's for the vacuum. There's your air conditioning system. Again, if it's all working, the air conditioning is working, that's really awesome. That's great to see. Original valve covers, original air cover. That's the factory paint. Hasn't been repainted. And that's what I like to see when I look at cars like this. So this is a car that gets Rob's attention when I look at cars. Again, is it worth $8,900? It is if you love the car like I do. You need a 23-foot garage to get this in there and to work on it. You know, if you put this car up on jack stands, you're not going to use cheap jack stands that you're going to buy really good jack stands to get this up in the air, because it's a heavy car to work on as a hobbyist at home. So simple things like just getting this car up in the air to do tires and changes and brakes and things like that. It's a big car, you know, so it's, you know, it's hard to work on these cars in a standard type garage. I've owned them and I've done it, but, you know, it's a lot of times I looked, I said, boy, I wish I had a lift. But really nice car. I like it a lot, as you can tell. And I try to post cars on this channel of cars that I would buy. So that's it. I'm going to leave the slide up at the end so you know where to find this car on Facebook Marketplace. A decent looking car, great model year, a super strong engine. Yeah, you'll get like 10 miles to the gallon, but boy, it'll be a fun weekend when you do drive this car. I wanted to remind everybody, we have our Rob's Car World. We do have a patron page here. You could become a patron member of the channel. It's $10 a month, $20 or $100 a month. but the $10 a month gives you an opportunity to send me an ad that you might be interested in buying, a car that you might be interested in, and I'll shoot you back a quick video of my review of the car, my recommendations based on the ad itself. The $20 level gives you an opportunity to send me 2 ads a month and 2 videos. And if you want me to go look at a car with you in person, the $100 a month patron level, I'll come out and meet with you and look at the car together. That's a 150-mile range from Warwick, New York. But if you want me to travel a little further, we can make arrangements for transportation and overnight and such. So just ways of getting to know me better and supporting the channel. I appreciate it very much. If you're not a subscriber to Rob's Car World, please hit that subscribe button. We love to see you. We're almost at the 500 mark where we'll start doing some live questions and answers. Please give a thumbs up if you enjoy the channel. And I'm going to leave that last slide up so you can see the car when you go look for it and try to find it on Facebook Marketplace. There it is. It's Facebook Marketplace. It's in Ohio. There's the last numbers of the item number. If you just put in Mercury Marquis, the car will come popping at you. Thanks very much for joining me tonight. We'll see you here.